Hey, we're back with the Leader Matters podcast this week on our Leader Matters Leadership Teaching to Ellie podcast. We're talking about setting the tone, Ellie. So we've had some people, compliment us. Some people have actually listened, and I appreciate that because what we're trying to do. I'm enjoying just talking to Ellie about this stuff, but I figure, we might as well record it, and if anybody gets anything out of it, it'd be great. But I think what you're seeing is a lot of these lessons in leadership we're talking to you about, Ellie, apply to a principal, a business leader, but obviously an athletic director, a coach, a teacher, somebody like that. But hopefully you when you get older, right? So
Mhm.
they've been resonating with some people, and that's been nice. So this week, our episode is about setting the tone. And let me explain to you where I mean by that. So there's really 10 things that I talk about through all my things that leaders do. And the first thing was setting the vision. And we spent the last several of these talking about ways you set a vision, you come up with a vision. And last time we talked about turning that vision into reality. And really, the other nine things are ways you turn your vision into reality. And this first one is setting the tone. And that means being the leader that's leading yourself, that being the example for other people. It can mean a lot of things. And so the next few of these are going to be about ways that you can set the tone as a leader. So now you've got your vision in place. Now we got to execute it. And the first person going to lead you, you setting the minimum for work. That'll be another one we'll talk about. We'll talk about being consistent because being consistent is a big part of setting a tone. And, finally, we'll talk about balance accountability and positivity, which actually, of all these leadership lessons, may be the hardest and most significant one because being a great leader, you got to set the tone, but you got to do it in a manner in which you hold people accountable, but not where they can't stand it and don't want to be a part of it and you're so mean, but also not being so positive that you're not holding people accountable. So you got teachers, right?
Yeah.
That you've had some really mean teachers, maybe you've had some really easy teachers and everything in between. But the best teachers probably were actually kind of hard on you, but also positive. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So you got those. That's an example of setting a tone. And we're going to have a whole one of these just about that, holding people accountable, but also being positive. But today, I just want to give you the overview of setting the tone as a leader. What does that mean? That means that you've got this vision of a leader. You know how you want things to be. But the quickest way for it not to be successful is for you, and that could be a coach listening or somebody, to not be the one that's setting the tone, setting the example for how that vision's supposed to be. And so the best story I could come up with to tell you, Ellie, was Captain Mike Abrashoff. It's a strange last name. I hope I got the captain's name right, but Mike Abrashoff. He took over a ship called the USS Benfold in 1997. This was one of the lowest performing ships in the military, in the whole fleet. So the first thing he did was go get feedback and talk to people, and that was all building a vision. What we've been talking about, kind of got an idea of what was going right, what wasn't. Talk to people, and they came up with this vision for how they wanted the USS Benfold to be moving forward, and he began setting the tone himself. So I think he's a good example to tell you about how taking that vision, turning it into a real thing. So he interviewed everybody, said, what do you like most about the ship? What do you like least? What would you change if you could? He listened to everybody. He created this vision off of that. But the main thing he did during that time was start making these subtle choices. So he ate last when they ate. He always made sure he was the last one to eat. He made sure that the younger people were served first. He greeted crew members by name, tried to learn everybody's name, which, if you're a coach and you coach a basketball team, you only got 12 people on the team. I hope you know everybody's name. But if you're on a ship with like hundreds of people, you may not know everybody's name. So he tried to learn everybody's name. So he called people by their name, walking around the ship regularly, make sure people saw him, eliminating that traditional distance that involves between like an officer or a leader and the regular folk, right? So he challenged that. And by doing that over a period of time and kind of setting the tone for how things were going to be, you see other people start calling people by name, first name. You see other people letting other people go eat first. And, all of a sudden within 1 year, by 1998, the USS Benfold became one of the top performing ships in all the Pacific. So the retention sky, nobody was asking to leave the ship. The metrics, the performance, how they kind of graded themselves was really high, and the ship became a model of excellence. So all this was the leader setting a tone and then living that tone. because, that's really the key. So while the vision is like the blueprint for success or the map, right? The leader's got to set the tone by helping them achieve that vision. And a lot of people have visions. Most people have a good vision. You think most coaches, they want to win, right? They get the
Yeah.
job. They're like, my vision is to win. Okay, well, that's
Hmm.
great. And none of them are not trying to win. But there are some that accidentally maybe not be setting the tone. They're maybe not working the hardest. They're maybe not leading. They're maybe not, you know, letting people eat first metaphorically or learning their names metaphorically. So what stands out to you as you hear that story of how that would apply to somebody like you?
Well, I think that somebody who is leading me doing doing the same things as me or like calling me by my first name, like I think that would really mean a lot to me. Or, like the whole eating last, like you said, I think that would be like that would make me feel more important. That would make me feel more motivated. That would make me want to work for that person because it shows that person, I mean, like personally wants to get to know me or like cares about me and how I'm working and all that stuff.
And remember, this is one of, hundreds of lessons, just one of,
Mhm.
it's a tiny piece of it, but it is a piece of it. So that same person also has to do a lot of other things well. But I feel like if they're not doing this one well, it tears it down where it makes it really hard for people to like them. So if you could think of maybe coaches, or teachers, or even other leaders you may know, principals or whatever, where maybe they're saying the right things, but then they're not really doing them, or they are the first one to want
Mhm.
something for them, or the first one to try to get out of something because they're in leader. This could even be a student leader. It could be like the captain of the team or something. But people don't love those people as much. They just don't. They're not as successful as they can be. And so, as a leader, you got to set the tone. And I think that's what this was about, was just that there's 10 parts, like I said, to this whole thing. And each one of those will have 4 or 5 little sub lessons in them. But that first one was setting the vision. And the other thing, you got to set the tone. So once that leader sets the vision, once that coach says, hey, I want us to have a physical team. I want to win the region. I want to make the playoffs. That's all the vision for what they want it to be. But then, like, what are you doing? Setting the tone means what are you actually doing? And you don't want to let people eat first and then throw it in their face. You let them eat first. Like every day saying, hey, look at me. I ate last. You just let them eat first. People eventually start figuring out, hey, this is, or, you see some trash, pick it up. Whatever you want done, you do it. So, what else you got, Ellie? Anything else for this lesson?
I mean, I think that, I mean, particularly like setting an example or like showing, that you care about the people that are working for you and that kind of stuff, is really important for the people that are working for you. It shows like that you're a good leader. So I think that's a really important thing to do to set the
Yeah, I do
tone.
too. Even a student leader, even for
Hmm.
you, if you become a doctor one day, which is your goal, you want to be able to practice, you want to lead the practice, you set the tone. Don't be the guy. Doctors, some of them are weird, okay? Some of these doctors act like they're somebody and they don't have to do anything and they're special. You don't want to be like that. You be the main doc. The floor needs sweeping, grab the broom and go sweep it. People see you, the doctor, doing that, you'll see everybody else working harder, right? Setting the tone is critical. Same way with the head coach, same with the athletic director, and everybody else listening. So, short lessons here with me and Ellie. Our lesson for this week, setting the tone. And we're going to be back next week, Ellie, with talking about the first person you lead is yourself. So, see you then. Tell them bye, Ellie.